This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
The topics are hot. The discussion is heated. And we're on fire. The First Take podcast starts now.
Here's what's coming up on the First Take podcast. Where is Cam Newton in the MVP race? Plus, will a benching help Colin Kaepernick? And how bad is Kobe Bryant's game right now? Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome into First Take. We have some Husky love on the show today. Geno Auriemma will join us in just a bit. You know, I'm looking forward to that. I got my blue on, boys.
I love Geno. Love Geno.
Me too. That makes two of us.
You've spoken on several.
Well, that makes two of you.
Skip Bayless.
I'm kidding.
Be nice.
Stephen A. Smith. I'm Molly Karam.
How are you?
Morning, guys.
By the way,
How
this guy
doing?
called me last night to gloat about the Denver Broncos acquiring Vernon Davis, saying it might be over for my Patriots now. We will discuss that in just a couple of minutes here. Yes, he did.
I love it. All right.
You're supposed to tell America that. Tell our segment coming up. I got to teach you how to tease. I'm just saying.
Oh.
It's all right. It's okay.
All right, we'll get into that in just a bit.
I'm just messing with you, bro. I'm just messing with you.
All right.
How about last night?
How about it?
The Panthers extend their perfect record, beating the Colts by 3 points in overtime. Andrew Luck showed resilience after the Colts fell behind 23-6 in the fourth. They scored on their final 3 possessions of the quarter and forced 2 3-and-outs. So you heard Andrew Luck say that their problems are his to fix. But how much did he redeem himself in the fourth quarter, Skip?
Molly, Stephen A., Andrew Luck did find some rhythm. He did inspire his team for a while, and I must admit, I was impressed for a while. But I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock in it, and I'm not going to move off my position that he has been prematurely coronated as a first ballot lock, as an Andrew Luck Hall of Famer. I'm not going to back off that.
Okay.
I thought last night was a classic case of Carolina being in complete control, building its lead to 23-6 with 11 minutes left, following Andrew Luck's second interception of the game. Then I thought the Panthers took their foot off the gas on offense, and they ran out of gas on defense. And as the rain did slack off some, maybe the wet ball was bothering Andrew Luck. It looked like it bothered everybody.
It did.
He did start to have far more time. I thought at times he had forever to throw in the pocket. And remember, the receivers have a big advantage on rain-slick turf over the defensive backs. And I thought his receivers started taking advantage. Luck made some nice throws. He also missed some big throws down the stretch. And I must say, that Whalen catch, quote unquote, that on 4th and 10 that kept the game alive, if we could see that real quick, that just wasn't a catch. I'm sorry, that was ground aided, and it should have ended the game right then and there, the Whalen catch on 4th and 10 late in the game. Then we had, there it is.
Yep.
Then we had Luke Kuechly dropping an interception in the end zone that also would have and should have ended the game. And then, of course, we had Andrew Luck's third interception of the game, which did set up the winning field goal for the Carolina Panthers. So it's hard to say that Andrew Luck redeemed himself in the fourth quarter, as well as he did play, because his QBR has plummeted all the way to 38 on scale of 100 this year. It has fallen, as you know, we talked about several times. It has regressed every year, all 4 of his years, his QBR has. Andrew Luck, the turnover machine that he is, now leads the National Football League in interceptions, and he's only played 6 games out of the out of the 8.
Yes.
So he's 1-5 as a starter, and I just didn't see enough last night to say he's back and I should back off my position. I just think he's astonishingly overrated, and I stand by that. And I want your thoughts. Can you defend him?
Skip Bayless, I can defend the future of Andrew Luck because I believe that from a physical standpoint, it is undeniable the gifts that he has. From an intellectual standpoint, going to Stanford, playing college football the way that he played and playing over the first 3 years, the way that he played in the NFL. I believe in Andrew Luck. I believe that the future is incredibly, incredibly bright for him. The future. But at this moment in time, Andrew Luck looks awful. He looks god-awful. I mean, it is despicable, some of the interceptions that he has thrown. It's like he has brain lock, for crying out loud. And I will go as far as to say, if we were talking about other quarterbacks that had athletic ability, quarterbacks that ran more than they threw, or whatever the case may be, if this were a Michael Vick, if this were a Colin Kaepernick, who we will get into later, if Russell Wilson were to do something like this, if this were RG3, we would be singing a different tune, literally questioning the viability of this quarterback. We would. There is no denying that. And they've already lost more games, or just as many games this season, as they've lost each of the last 3 seasons. They're 3-5 right now. Andrew Luck looks awful. He looks like he has no clue half the time. On top of it all, the mistakes are inexplicable, and the confidence level has flagrantly diminished. When you look at him, he literally looks beaten, and he looks defeated. When he threw one of those interceptions, when he overthrew, I forgot who it was, Fleener or Moncrief for somebody, when he overthrew them and he threw an interception, he laid in the grass face down because he was so disgusted with himself, because he couldn't believe. He looks defeated. Now, in defense of him, he did lead that comeback. They did take a lead. They had the lead in overtime, okay? I mean, the bottom line is that he had an opportunity to win this game, but ultimately it didn't come through. It was contributable to his mistakes. There's no doubt about that. But I'm going to go as far as to say this. I'm looking at the steps of Mr. Ryan Grigson, the general manager for these Indianapolis Colts, and I'm going to say, if not wholesale changes that need to be made, he may be the biggest problem of all. Now, I want to emphasize that I am not a football aficionado. I'm a reporter, and I read and I follow. I haven't been in a Colts locker room. I haven't spoken to Mr. Grigson personally, so I'm not in any way trying to decipher his level of intellect, his competency at the position, but this is a results-oriented business, and all we can go by is what we see. You're arguing with the owner, Jim Irsay, in the locker room. That's just not some argument about wins and losses. It's about the fact that this guy has the power. Skip Bayless, every GM doesn't have this power, but Grigson not only has the power to assemble a lineup, Skip, Molly, but he also tells Pagano who to put in that starting lineup. This is a guy that spent $55 million on wideouts, you know, and buffering their offense, but only $55,000 on the offensive line. You got a guy like Harriman, who's now on the bench. Muhort was starting in place of him. You've got other things going on. This offensive line has been an issue for years. You haven't protected Andrew Luck enough. You haven't done enough to elevate his level of confidence, because you are right. There are a lot of people, myself included, who has raved about, about Andrew Luck. But the flip side to it, Skip, is that if I'm his GM, you know what I'm doing? I'm not raving about him. I'm doing all that I can to protect him, to facilitate his ability to shine. And I don't think enough has been done to help him. Frank Gore was supposed to be the answer. I know he cares. I know he runs hard, and he hasn't been a scrub by any stretch of the imagination. Frank Gore is to be respected. But spectacular is not the word that jumps out with you. Amar Bradshaw had a 23-yard run. He finished with 21 yards on 3 carries. Why? Because the other 2 were for -2 yards, okay? You look at their running game, it's been suspect. You look at their offensive line throughout his history in Indianapolis, it has been suspect. In no way, and I'm trying to absolve Andrew Luck, because I know you're right about how bad he has been as it pertains to the turnovers. But Skip Bayless, I would say to you, that if you were the general manager for the Indianapolis Colts and you had Andrew Luck as your quarterback, you wouldn't just be resting on the laurels that he has earned for you. You would think about putting things around him to protect him, even from himself. And I don't think that that has happened. You would see some of the flaws, and you would sit there and say, all right, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do that. That is not what Grigson is doing. And I think as a result, that's why Irsay got in his face. I think that's why Pagano is on the hot seat, when in fact, I don't even know how much coaching Pagano is allowed to do because of Grigson's presence, at least from what I've been told. So I look at it from that perspective, and I say that you have to sincerely think about making some kind of change in the hierarchy of the Indianapolis Colts, because the organization right now appears to be dysfunctional. The locker room just throws out a bunch of cliches. We got to keep grinding, we got to keep working hard, and all of this other stuff. But in the end, what it comes down to is that there's some serious changes. And I'm telling you right now, that's what you got to do. Kravitz column in the Star.
Bob Kravitz.
Bob Kravitz. I'm sorry, Bob Kravitz. Exceptional column today. I think he makes valid points. He covers this team, and you swear by him as well as I do. I mean, read the man's column. I think he says it all.
Okay. Here's my problem with everything you just said.
Okay.
There's some hypocrisy going on because you loved this team before the season started.
Yeah.
Molly liked the team, I remember.
I thought they were.
I agree with
I thought they want to come up. I don't think it's hypocrisy.
Okay.
I think that you go by what you're seeing, Skip.
But you thought the pieces added were sensational, like this was going to put Andrew Luck over the top this year and into the Super Bowl.
Well, I thought so, yes. Andre Johnson, an experienced wide receiver. Frank Gore, an experienced, viable running back. But the offensive line was something that we repeatedly pointed out.
Okay, there's something to be said for a great quarterback making those around him better. Tom Brady just keeps making anyone you want to throw in his starting lineup better.
Skip.
It is fair.
This
is his fourth year in the league. Andrew Luck is in first ballot Hall of Fame.
Tom Brady was protected a lot early on. He graduated to this position as well. Let's be clear about that.
Okay, look. I understand about Ryan Grigson, Chuck Pagano. I get all that. But I'm tired of hearing everyone give this young man a pass. Now he's got fractured ribs, and he says after the game, I can't comment on that. And so it leads every time. What conclusion does everybody jump to?
What do you want him to do?
He does have fractured ribs.
What do you want him to do? Lie to you?
Do you want him to play or not?
If
he plays, I say, I got to grade you as you play.
Well, nobody's saying that you can't grade him, but you can't knock him for his answer when you ask the question. What's he? You want him to lie to you? Do you want him to look you in the face and tell you a bold-faced lie?
How about the truth?
Well, I'm just saying. Again, he said, I can't comment on that. That's part of the truth.
Okay.
He's a player.
But Ryan Grigson is on record as saying he's not hurt, and I didn't put him on the injury report because he's not hurt.
Yeah, but you don't know if Ryan Grigson you don't know if Ryan Grigson and Chuck Pagano told him don't touch on it. You don't know that.
Well, I'm sure they did.
All right. Well, if they did, then what you getting on him for?
Is he hurt or not? Is he hurt? Are we giving him the hurt pass or not?
No,
hurt pass?
He played.
Okay, he played.
He played.
And he looked just fine to me, except for the wet football, but everybody had a problem with the wet football. A lot of quarterbacks can't. A lot of great quarterbacks can't throw wet footballs.
I agree.
Cam was having trouble with it, so I give him a pass. But by the fourth quarter, the rain did slack off, and then you could start to see both quarterbacks operate the way they can operate. And I saw good things from Andrew Luck, and I saw what you said. His confidence has cratered. He's not the same mentally as he used to be because he's starting to get exposed by this league as an interception thrower, as someone who is wildly erratic with the football in his hand. You can say, well, he's not protected. Last night, he had time. He had forever in the fourth quarter in the pocket to throw the football.
I don't look at it that way. And I don't know how many times I got to keep saying that. I know that he has looked bad this season. But I stand by everything that I've said about him in terms of what I believe his career will end up being. I think he has that kind of talent that just, you talk about a future Hall of Famer, fine. Skip, when you look at his size, his legs, his arm strength, his durability, his football intellect over the first 3 years, et cetera, I think there's a lot of promise there, in my opinion. Now, what he has done this year is taking a huge step back. I think we have to look at the organization and ask ourselves why that is. How could this quarterback take this kind of step in the wrong direction? You want to look at Andrew Luck.
I do.
I want to look at Andrew Luck and everything around Andrew Luck. Okay. That's what I want to do. I never anticipated that he'd be, when I said Super Bowl, I'm like, look, this kid's got those kind of big time skills. And I did have a lot of belief in the Indianapolis coach. And a lot of people, not just myself, are sitting around shocked at what we're seeing from the Indianapolis coach. It's a team game or it's not. You want to look at Andrew Luck, you be my guest. You go right ahead. But you know something? Last time I checked, it's a team that wins football games. Okay. And there's a lot of other stuff going on with the Indianapolis coach.
I'm starting to see the LeBron syndrome kick in here. Oh, he just doesn't have enough help. It's not his fault.
But he
doesn't
did
have
it.
enough help.
But LeBron did it.
He did it twice. I give him that.
But LeBron did not. LeBron did not, because even though a lot of your criticism was valid, some of it wasn't. The most valid criticism you had about LeBron back in the day were those free throws, and how he was fearful of going to the free throw line. But you would take it a step further and attach stuff to him and ignore the teammates around him. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you sit up there, you getting double and triple team, and you kicking it out to cats, and they going up against Orlando in the conference finals and can't hit a damn jump shot when they spent all year hitting jump shots, feigning, taking pictures with one another, and having a ball.
We're going back to 07 here?
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying you used to get on him.
Yeah.
That's why
I still do.
Well, no,
Opening night,
but
he didn't take it to the hole.
But it's different now.
Okay.
It's different now because now you acknowledge accurately what is his fault and is not, whereas before you just used to pour it on.
I don't know about
Yes,
that.
you
So you get to tell us I told you so
Yes,
right
you
now.
did.
If you do. We'll see
Yes,
what
you
the future
did.
holds, though.
We'll see.
He dropped 50. You'd come in and complain about the way he danced.
That's false. I'd come in here and say I am impressed, and you know it.
You ain't come in here and complain about the way he danced? Hey, I don't like how he shimmy.
guys,
Well,
that
like
That wasn't on a night he dropped 50.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think
it was.
Let's move on, gentlemen, and focus on the other quarterback in that game. Cam Newton is the first player in NFL history to lead his team to a 7-0 start while passing for a TD and rushing for 20 yards in every game. We are less than halfway through the season, but Cam is certainly in the MVP conversation. Here are the other names circulating: Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Andy Dalton, and Carson Palmer. Stephen A., where would you put Cam in the MVP conversation right now?
Number 2 behind Tom Brady.
Really?
Aaron Rodgers is not ahead of him. Andy Dalton is not ahead of him. Only Tom Brady, who has looked nothing short of spectacular this season. Cam Newton, one could argue, is doing more with less, and I think that was validated last night when we saw Ted Ginn drop a wide-open touchdown pass that would have ended the game. Lord, you talk about a dude that's lucky they didn't lose that game. It would have been very difficult for him to walk back in that locker room after dropping that pass. I mean, catch the damn ball, okay? That's number 1. When you look at it, Greg Olsen's having a really good season. Very, very impressed with what I'm seeing from him. Jonathan Stewart obviously has been around for a long time, so he can do his thing. But to not have a Kelvin Benjamin, to have lost Steve Smith Sr. from a couple of years back, to have the paucity of weapons that he has available to him, but to do things the way that he does it. I mean, I'm watching Cam Newton throw balls to open receivers. They're picture-perfect throws, even though not all of them are. I'm watching him standing in the pocket under duress. I'm watching him scramble out of pocket. I'm watching him literally run over defenders. Run over him. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, he's clearly the star of the team. He talks smack, he backs it up, and he instills the kind of attitude in a team that speaks of championship aspirations. And I just look at Cam Newton, and I'm incredibly impressed with him. It's just that when you look at the kind of year that Tom Brady is having, I can't deny the fact that Tom Brady is easily the leading candidate for league MVP honors, but Cam Newton would be second on that list because there is no reason on God's green earth why the Carolina Panthers should be 7-0, but they are, and marching towards the road to the Super Bowl, coming through Charlotte, North Carolina, one of my favorite cities. So, I mean, it is special to see what's going on right now, and it's undeniable that defense, obviously that defense is big time. Norman and those boys, I mean, good Lord. He put forth a spectacular performance last night as far as I'm concerned as well. Josh Norman is one of the best corners in the game. This brother's special, okay? But, and Kuechly is who he is, and Davis and those boys. But this defense is obviously getting it done. But you're winning these games also because of Cam Newton. If it were not for Cam Newton, they wouldn't be 7-0. It's a miracle considering what he's working with, to be quite honest with you.
I completely agree with everything you just said. I also have Cam second, but it's unfair to say Cam is second to a guy who's in another league right now, and Tom Brady. He's in another galaxy. It's like he doesn't belong in this conversation. So I'm going to boil it down to this. Cam is the MVP of the NFC right now. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Over Carson Palmer, Aaron Rodgers, whose QBRs, again, scaled 0 to 100, are almost double what Cam's is right now. Cam's at 47. Carson Palmer leads the NFL at 85, and your man Aaron Rodgers is at 80. So Cam's at 47, and I'm saying he's having a better year than those two other quarterbacks whose teams are, Arizona 6-2. Obviously, Green Bay has now fallen to 6-1. listen, the degree of difficulty of what Cam is pulling off with these Panthers puts him way at the top of my NFC list. Let's forget about Tom Brady. But when you're throwing mostly to Greg Olsen, who had another big catch last night for a touchdown.
Yeah, one-handed one, too.
It was beautiful. He's made many big catches. But when your second best receiver is a guy in Ted Ginn, who's second in the NFL in drop passes, and that's among receivers with 25 or more targets thrown at them, okay? So my point is that what are you throwing to? We know he lost Kelvin Benjamin, but it's kind of usually Greg Olsen or bust, and then you point out Ted Ginn dropped the game, and they were so fortunate to pull the game out, mostly because of Cam. And what does he do? He leads quarterbacks in rush yards per game. And how does he run the ball? That's what I want to talk about, is the how he runs the ball. Have you ever seen a quarterback run it like this? Yeah. Like, it's not Russell Wilson, I'm going to run the spread option, or I'm going to escape and shoot over there and slide. He just runs over. He's running power like wing T old school football.
And by the way, blocking when some of his running backs are running.
He does.
He's doing it all.
Is it fair to say he's the beast mode of quarterbacks? Yeah. I mean, isn't that what he does?
Yeah.
And again, my instincts, every time he takes off running like the single wing power, off tackle blast, I think, what are you doing? And then he runs through people and he jumps right up, and it doesn't seem to bother him. It's like he's built to do what he's doing. Now, is this going to shorten his career? I don't know.
He doesn't need to be doing this so much. I don't like how they call running plays.
Well, they do.
They do call running plays. I don't like that.
Like behind the fullback.
I really don't like that.
Yeah, man. But my point is, it works, and it doesn't seem to bother him very much. Now, he does get, in years past, he's been nicked, and he's had ankles and bruises and bumps, but he has not been seriously hurt. And you got to give him credit for doing so much with so little to have this team at 7-0 undefeated. So I'm here to honor him. I was very impressed with the way he played and kept his team together last night. We know their defense is really good, but is it great? Is it great? It's 10th in points allowed.
Top 4 in a bunch of categories.
It's not great because they're ranked 20th against the run.
Yeah.
You can run the football on them to some degree. Offensively speaking, they've got the 4th-ranked offense in Carolina because they've got the #1 rushing attack. They're like 3rd worst, 29th overall in passing, primarily because Ted Ginn Jr. can't catch passes, for crying out loud. I mean, he's dropping passes just entirely too much, and he needs to get it together. But with that being said, also remember that one of the reasons they have an elite rushing attack is because of Cam Newton running the football.
They do.
He averages about.
And by the way, they're #1 in rushing in the NFL.
That's what I said. They're #1 rushing,
great.
and he's running about 40 yards a game for
40
them.
yards a game.
So I'm just looking at them right now, and I'm like, okay, he can continue to do this. Let's look at this schedule. You got Green Bay next. You're on the road at Tennessee, who just fired Ken Wisenhunt, by the way. You got Washington. Then you got road games at Dallas and New Orleans. So it can get real interesting because it's always tough to play against NFC South foes. But what I'm seeing from him, I'm shocked. They already have as many victories as they had all of last year. It's impressive to watch. There's no doubt about that. And even though Tom Brady seems to be in another stratosphere because of how he's playing, you have to consider what Cam Newton is working with, and that's why he belongs in the conversation.
And despite the low QBR, remember, he did make their throw of the year at Seattle to beat Seattle at home to Greg Olsen. So I give him that. You talk about clutch. Yeah. That was clutch.
He's doing so much with so little, and especially in the 4th quarter as well. But still a distant second to Tom Brady, but we give him the #1 MVP vote in the NFC. John Elway confirmed Monday that the Broncos agreed to a trade before the deadline, tweeting this: "We've agreed to trade for 2-time Pro Bowl tight end Vernon Davis from San Francisco. He'll be a valuable addition to our team with his experience and leadership." The 49ers are trading Davis and a 2016 7th-round pick to Denver for a 6th-round pick in 2016 and in 2017. Davis has spent 10 seasons with the Niners, accumulating 441 receptions for over 5,000 yards and 55 touchdowns in his career. Stephen A., we know how much Gary Kubiak likes those tight ends. How much will he mean to Denver?
Well, it's interesting that you brought up Gary Kubiak because I continue to believe he's the luckiest man in all of football after his mediocre performance over those years in Houston. To land this job is just absolutely amazing. Only in America. It's beautiful.
Well, we know the connection.
We do.
It's just beautiful when you know people. It truly, truly is very, very touching. Let me get back to business here. I don't know what's going to happen because I don't know what Vernon Davis we're going to see. Vernon Davis has had 13 touchdowns 2 seasons ago in a Pro Bowl appearance, or has had about 13 receptions ever since, for crying out loud. I mean, this guy, he had 6 receptions last week against St. Louis. Prior to that, in his previous 5 games, he had a grand total of 12 appearances. Doesn't even have 200 receiving yards on the season. But if Vernon Davis can be that Vernon Davis that I saw from a couple of years ago, still has some speed, still can play that tight end spot at a very good level, not the Rob Gronkowski level, but somewhere along the lines of Eifert and Graham, or at least how they used to play, or at least how Graham used to play until he arrived in Seattle, which I believe Vernon Davis could be that guy. This could be the missing piece that elevates the Denver Broncos over the New England Patriots and to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yes.
Conviction.
When I saw that this trade took place, I said to myself, because see, I believe in Denver's defense. I believe that Denver's defense will have Tom Brady tap dancing like the late great Gregory Hines. God rest his soul.
Are you on record?
I believe that.
Is that on tape?
I believe that.
Okay.
Here's my question. This offense, what are you going to be able to do? Because clearly, since Kubiak arrived, the changing of the system and what have you, Peyton Manning trying to make adjustments, having 7 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, not seeming like himself, not the Peyton Manning that threw 39 touchdowns, not the Peyton Manning that threw 55 touchdowns the year before. We're looking for that guy again. We haven't seen it. So because we haven't seen it, I said, okay, the defense is big time, but Tom Brady and the New England Patriots are still going to find a way to get theirs. The offense has to be able to do something, otherwise they have no chance. But in light of the fact that Vernon Davis has arrived, if somehow, some way, and he says he's excited, something special about playing for Peyton Manning, that's all he could think about was going to play with Peyton Manning.
I'd be excited.
If Vernon Davis shows up, and I'm not talking about the Vernon Davis that we saw on CNBC talking about his stock options. I'm talking about the Vernon Davis. This is what happened. I keep telling you that. He ain't been the damn same since. He ain't been the same since. Ever since I saw him more than a year ago, leading into last season, the man was on CNBC. I turned on CNBC because I was checking my stocks. I turned on CNBC.
Problems.
Excuse me?
Rich people problems.
Look, man, I got stocks. I got a 401k. I got an IRA. I got a 529. I got it all, bro. Listen, I'm working on it. I'm not rich, but I'm trying to become rich. I'm trying to tell you that right now.
I don't know about you not rich.
I'm not rich. Not yet. I'm working on it. The point is that I'm turning the TV, wanting to see what's up. And I see this man hanging on Wall Street. Okay. I instantly had an attitude with him.
So you want him to sell, right?
No. What I'm saying is, I need to see you on the football field. Okay. That's what I need to see. So, now that he's with Denver, if he can give you something from that tight end spot, if Denver's offense, and I know it's ifs, that's why I can't say definitively, if Denver's offense can look anywhere near as productive as they have looked the previous 2 seasons, they're going to beat the Patriots.
Right.
And I'm not talking about November 29th. I'm not talking about November 29th. I'm talking. I'm saying to you, no. Who says it's going to be in Foxborough?
Okay. Doesn't mean it's
it could be in Mile High City.
You're right.
I'm saying to you, I'm saying it's an if, because again, we don't know about the offense and we don't know about Vernon Davis. I don't know if I can trust him anymore. I trust that defense. I don't know if I can trust him. But if he can do it, and that offense, and we see an elevation in that offense, the Patriots going to get taken out of here. Patriots going to get taken out of here. I'm just trying to tell you.
Do you realize you just used the word if 17 times in that soliloquy? 17 times.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know anything definitively about Vernon Davis? Because I don't.
Okay. I'm going to sum up everything you just said.
I like how excited he is about it.
I'm going to sum it all up. If pigs can fly, then Denver will be better than Tom Brady's team in January. If pigs can fly. If pigs can fly. If pigs can fly. Okay? That's what I'm saying.
With either of you.
Okay.
I know you tried to be funny there. It didn't work that much, but go ahead.
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to be realistic and bring you back to earth.
I'm saying, if Vernon Davis could play the tight end spot, I mean, Peyton Manning can capitalize off of a really good tight end, right?
Vernon Davis has been an injured, beat-up shell of himself over the last 2 years.
I know.
Is that attributable straight to Colin Kaepernick? Maybe some. Will Peyton Manning reinvigorate Vernon Davis at age 31? I'm sure he'll try, and I'm sure that Vernon Davis will have some good, positive impact in Denver. But will he change the balance of power in the AFC? He will not. Are you telling me that Vernon Davis is Rob Gronkowski of the Rockies? Is that what we're saying? Is he going to be Peyton's Gronkowski? Is that what? Because you just asked me a question.
You know what? To be quite honest with you, Skip, all I need Vernon Davis to be is Julius Thomas. It's Julius Thomas, what Julius Thomas was to Peyton Manning the last 2 years. I don't need I don't need Vernon Davis to be Rob Gronkowski. I don't even need him to be Ty Eifert. I need Vernon Davis to be what Julius Thomas was to Peyton Manning at least a couple of years ago.
Okay, but you're not making definitive statements. Will he be?
I can't.
You're asking me questions.
I don't know.
So you can't say if.
I don't know.
They're going to go to.
Well,
no,
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Then I apologize for bringing up the subject because I don't have a definitive answer. I don't know. Based on what I've seen in San Francisco, I don't know.
Okay, I have a definitive answer. No, he will not be.
Okay.
He won't be Rob Gronkowski.
Right.
I don't think he'll be Julius Thomas. I think he got to a point in his career where he did get interested in the stock market and a whole lot of off-the-field things that intrigued him more than football. I've never known if Vernon Davis loved playing the game of football. Will he find new love in Mile High? He might.
Well, you know what? You almost can't knock the dudes. I mean, Skip, you worked out there. You know that in San Francisco, Santa Clara, Walnut Creek, there's a lot of money out there. And so you can find
Santa Clara to Walnut Creek.
That's okay. Well, I was just saying. To me, it ain't that far away.
Okay,
it ain't that far. All I'm saying to you, I was at both recently. I'm just saying to you,
it's a pretty good hike.
An hour. I mean, all I'm saying to you, there's a lot of money out there. And if you got a lot of money out there, you're gonna sit up there and you're gonna get caught up in the money and kind of forget what got you the money to begin with. So that could have a problem. Everybody can't be Geno Auriemma. Everybody can't sit there and be focused on just winning no matter how much money you're getting. Sometimes some people who are young like Vernon Davis get a bit distracted. I'm hoping that the man comes in Denver and it revitalizes his career because, again, if all I need him to be is what Julius Thomas was. If he can do that, he doesn't need to be Rob Gronkowski. If he can do that with Demaryius Thomas, with Emmanuel Sanders, with those, with C.J. Anderson and Ronnie Hillman, with Peyton Manning, and that defense, I believe that they will beat the New England Patriots if Vernon Davis shows up and Vernon Davis shows up to ball.
Okay, so all of your ifs and could and mights and hope and they all add up to more Brady hate. That's what it is. You're just trying to find another reason to undermine the great Tom Brady.
I despise the Cowboys because of their fan base. I do not despise the Patriots. I love Mr. Kraft. I do not despise the Patriots. And I respect the fact that Grady may go down as the best ever. I still think that Aaron Rodgers is a bad man, but I see what Brady's doing. I ain't blind. And I remember, I'm the one that said the Patriots are America's team, not the Cowboys. So don't tell me about hating on Brady. Listen, I despise the Cowboys. The fan base is the worst in America. I can't stand them. They make me sick to my stomach because they don't live in reality. They walk around acting like they won, and they haven't won in 20 years.
Right,
but the Patriots, I can't say that about. They're a 4-time Super Bowl champion.
So I need you on record right here, right now. Are the Denver Broncos going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? You don't know?
I don't know yet. I picked
After all that, you don't know?
Nope. Sorry.
Maybe if 2013 Vernon Davis shows up, they have a better shot.
Well, obviously.
I'm entitled to watch the man play first in a Denver Broncos uniform. You want me to prognosticate without that information. I'm not doing it. I'm going to wait and see. I believe they will beat the Patriots on November 29th. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the playoffs just yet. You don't get to pick for me. It's first take with the both of us. You say what you got to say. I say what I got to say.
I'm
not ready.
Last night.
What did I say last night?
Trash talking last night.
Wait a minute.
Oh, it's over. It's over.
No, on the phone.
Once again, you just lied to America because you started off the show highlighting. You started off the show highlighting that I called you and I said maybe. So now you.
I didn't hear any maybes last night. I heard it's over.
You started off the show. Replay the tape. Listen, we got to go. We got to get winners up in here.
Let's talk about a real winner. Exactly.
All right.
Hey there, everybody. We're Mike and Mike.
It's that time of year again, Greeny.
You're absolutely right, Golick. The college football playoff is here.
And we're giving you the chance to be in with us at the national championship game.
Here's what you do. Listen live every weekday for your chance to win the Mike and Mike at the college football playoff sweepstakes presented by AutoZone.
Listen live for that winning word, then just enter for your chance to win.
We're picking a winner every week. Who's in?
Visit ESPNradio.com/MikeCFP for complete contest rules.
Topics.
Joining us now is coaching royalty, 10-time national champion. He has the highest winning percentage of any head coach, male or female, in NCAA basketball history, UConn women's basketball coach Geno Auriemma. Gina, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. As these guys know, I'm a UConn alum.
Yep.
Grew up going to games. We've been season ticket holders, men's and women's, for years. So my favorite guest yet here on First Take. Thank you.
Hey, when I walked in and I heard these guys, I thought we stumbled on the Republican primary.
Oh!
I thought we stumbled on the debates here, you know? I was hoping Molly would get a chance to ask a question once in a while.
It did rape them. It did rape them.
It did.
It always does. All right, let's get into it. Gino, you have never lost a championship game. What does UConn do differently that you're able to consistently dominate even in the biggest stages?
We usually bring the best team. You know, that has a lot to do with it. You know, when you've got the best player and you got the best team, then it's just a matter of convincing your players that we can't get beat. We can only lose. And a lot of times I think players, when they get in that big stage, are afraid to lose, so they don't play up to their abilities. You know, people talk about choking. It's not that players can't perform. It's just the fear of losing kind of paralyzes them, and they start thinking about it. So we just try to put the focus on, listen, we're the best team. No matter if they played their A game or not, we're still going to win as long as we play our A game. And we just go in with a lot more confidence than the other team, I think.
Boring, mundane, monotonous, I don't know which word is appropriate, but I want to know, do you, with all of this winning, considering the fact that you have more championships than the entire women's basketball field combined of active coaches, I want to know, are those feelings, those emotions, anything that ever touches you? And if not, why hasn't that happened with you yet when you've won so much?
There are times when you think about it, Stephen. I'm not gonna lie. There are times when you sit back and you're talking with your coaches and your players sometimes in the off season or quiet moments, and you just say, you know, it's incredible what we've done. As long as you don't sit back and congratulate yourself every day about it, it kind of gives you a sense of self-confidence in you and your team, and say, we're the only players, we're the only coaches that really know what right now what it takes to win a national championship. This group of players has won 3 in a row, and we sit there and we think, you know what, if it comes down to that, we've got something nobody else has. So we just use it as a form of, that's our badge, that's our armor that protects us.
So what part of your incredible success is coaching and how much is recruiting? And I guess my question is, could Stephen A. win with the players you're able to recruit? Seriously.
Could he? Maybe so. Maybe so. It would be like, could we throw any of you guys on American Pharoah and win the Kentucky Derby? He's the best horse, but probably not. So I think you have to have the best players, and you have to know how to put them in positions to be successful.
Well, is it 50-50, would you say?
I think coaches lose more games than they win.
Wow.
First, you lose in recruiting. You don't get the players.
Yeah.
Then when you do get them, you mismanage, or you put them in positions where they can't be successful. You put a guy who can only play in this part of the floor, and you try to make them play over here. Or you put them in a system that doesn't suit your players. Then I think coaches are losing games. If a coach just manages and puts them in a position where they can be great, then it's up to the players.
I'm wondering, when I think about you and your coaching career, A, have you ever thought about coaching the men's program at UConn? And I mean, seriously, I've often wondered, because I think, and obviously you guys, I mean, Kevin Ollie guided them to the national championship, and we all know the history of UConn men's basketball. But considering what you accomplished, I've wondered if you ever thought about it and how badly you've ever wanted to do it, if at all.
Not at UConn.
Why not at UConn?
Because I think we had a great coach, and we have a great coach now. I love baseball. I used to play baseball all the time, and you know, when your second baseman gets hurt, you don't put your shortstop over there because now you're lousy at both positions. So I would never want to put us in that situation. But there's been opportunities. But I'm at a stage in my life now where, if when I was 35 or 40, and that opportunity came along like it did later in life, who's to say I wouldn't have taken it? But right now, I'm kind of happy where I am.
You made some remarks back at the Final Four about men's college basketball, saying that just as a spectator, you find it to be a joke. There are only about 10 teams that you would sort of pay to watch because they just can't score. And that they'll tell you, I'm just reading the rest of your quote here, the bottom line is nobody can score, and they'll tell you it's because of great defense, great scouting, a lot of teamwork, nonsense. Give us some more thoughts there.
Well, you know what's funny? A lot of guys that worked here went crazy, and some people's first reaction was, well, what about the women's game? Well, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about answering the question about what do you think watching the men's game. So the comments that I made, the people that came back at me, well, there's 25 new rules, aren't there, in men's basketball now going into this year? So I wasn't the only one that thought that. The way I said it leaves a lot to be desired, I think. But I think the game, when you've got that many good players on the floor, you can't be playing games in the 60s. I think coaches have too much control of the game in college. Like you look at the NBA, whether you have the best players or not, you're going to play by a certain standard of rules that are entertaining the fans. Remember when the Knicks used to win 80-75? When Patrick Ewing and Pat Riley? Well, they looked around and said, this isn't very entertaining. So I think we have to understand we're in the entertainment business. And people want to come watch a game where they're entertained. Who wants to watch a game where you miss 6 out of every 10 shots? You can say, I could do that. I'm not going to. You're not going to pay to go to a concert and see Sinatra and go, he just got the first 3 songs half right.
Fair. But I must ask you, would you rather lose pretty or win ugly?
Well, I'd rather win.
No, the reason I asked that question is because as a Knicks fan, looking at Ewing, Oakley, Charles, John Starks, all of these guys, I was saying to myself, well,
it was what it was.
A legitimate shot at a title.
It was what it was, and they took advantage of the rules. So I'm not criticizing them. I would do the same thing. But once you change the rules, now you will lose pretty.
No question.
What difference does it make if you lose 60-40 or 100-80? But losing 100-80 is more appealing to fans watching the game. You can convince people that you're playing good defense. You can't convince anybody that your offense is good when you're scoring 60. And I just think we're getting there. I think the men's committee did a great job, and they're getting there. And you're going to see a big difference this year. You're going to see the game being played. I think that's why some college coaches are going to the pros, because I think they're tired of that, like Billy Donovan or Fred Hoiberg. You know, these guys, I think they like the ability of, like, let's just let the guys play. Let's not strangle them. What's happening?
Is it also possible that they don't want to have to go out there and recruit?
That's part of it. That's part of it. You're a coach in the pros, and you're like, you know, my guy does something stupid at 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not my problem. When you're in college, that's your problem. Everything is your problem in college.
Excuse me. I'm glad you went there, because that was going to bring up another question I was going to ask you. I'm certainly not going to ask you to comment specifically about, you know, a contemporary in the business like a Rick Pitino, but so much was made about the whole scandal that happened at Louisville just a few weeks ago with strippers and the like in dorms and assistant coaches and being involved. What were the thoughts going through your mind, and what is the thoughts going through a college coach's mind when you see a story like that generating that level of national publicity? What are the kind of things that we should have been saying that you think may not have been said from a coach's perspective?
Well, the NCAA has made it so that the head coaches, which would be my peers, we have made to be now responsible for everything that happens on your campus relative to your players and your assistant coaches. That's a lot of responsibility on one person. That means 24/7, you've got to know that would be like you're responsible for your children's actions when they're 21 and still living at home. So that means you have to have a monitor on them 24/7. That's a lot of responsibility. So is that fair that that's the standard we're held to? That's the world that we live in today. So my first reaction was, man, I hope it was just a guy doing stuff to think that I want to look good in my profession by being able to deliver X number of players, so I'm going to do this. I hope that's what it was. That's my first thought. I hope that's all it was.
But does that notion go flying out the window when you hear that this stuff was going on in the dorm on campus. It ain't like it was at a club off campus.
Hey,
it ain't like it was at a house party.
Look,
this is on campus.
Let me tell you something. Being a college coach for 30 years, I got to tell you, I bet you I don't want to know some of the stuff that's happened in dorms over the last 30 years that I've been at Connecticut. I don't want it. And any of you that went to college and lived in a dorm, you don't want to know.
I agree.
You don't want to know. And maybe that's best. And you know what? That's the other beauty about coaching women's sports. Generally speaking, we don't have to have that kind of stay up late at night waiting. And it's unfair, too. You know, you got 15,000 people ages 18 to 22, all in close proximity.
Things happen.
Last quick question. You grew up in Philly, an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
What shot do you give the Eagles to win the NFC East?
Listen, how many people we got in this room? We could put together 11 people in this room, we'd have a shot. So they have as good a shot as anybody. You know what we got to do? We got to stop squandering red zone opportunities. That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah. I got an idea.
Hand the ball to the running back a little more and let him go.
I got an idea. How about Colin Kaepernick? Getting him from San Francisco to Philly.
Why is he so great, though? He's just got benched.
Same guy that got the team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So
Sam Bradford didn't do that.
Something's not right. Hey, look, I don't coach that game. I just watch it. I enjoy it. And I just know that if you don't put 40 points up on the board anymore, it's hard to win in that league.
Yeah.
It seems like it anyway. It's like college football is the same way. And that's what I was saying about college basketball.
Yeah.
Every place else, it's about putting points on the board. You know? And the Eagles, they usually do that. I don't know.
They used to.
They usually do that. And they're going to do it Sunday night, too. Sunday night football against your...
We'll see.
No, your Cowboys.
Don't say me.
Your Cowboys.
Don't say me.
His Cowboys.
His Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Yeah, my Cowboys would be lucky to score 6 in that game.
I'm glad you
But we all live in New England, man. We're all Patriots fans all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely.
You just put up 95 to 39. Not a bad night yesterday in Hartford.
Different.
Yeah.
That's different. The level of
That's just another day
the
in
level
the
of
office.
talent last night was worse than that.
Even when the talent goes up, you guys will still get it done. Geno, thank you so much.
I like our chances Sunday night.
Thank you so much for what you've done for not just the basketball program, but the university as well.
I appreciate
you
that.
making time. The 49ers are benching quarterback Colin Kaepernick for Blaine Gabbert, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter in multiple reports. Kaepernick has passed for just 286 yards the last 2 games, and the Niners are 2-6. He's failed to score a touchdown for the 2nd straight game and 3rd in 5. Stephen A., what went wrong here?
Well, what went wrong here is the 49ers as an organization is laughable and inept, and they're reaping exactly what they have sown. If you hadn't gotten rid of Jim Harbaugh, this would not be happening. The fact is that even though, and I'll get to Colin Kaepernick in a second, regardless of how inept he appears, and he does appear inept at times, if you're Jed York, if you're Trent Baalke, if you're the San Francisco 49ers nation, that fan base, that city, look right at the CEO and right at the GM, because they put their personal interest in terms of a need to get along with the head coach ahead of winning, prioritizing winning. Even last year, as dysfunctional as everything appeared, you still ended up finished like 8-8. Jim Harbaugh had you respectable, okay? The 3 previous years, you were in an NFC championship game or the Super Bowl. And to sit there and to get in this man's way and to impede his ability to coach this franchise, you are reaping precisely what you sowed. You brought this on yourself, and you are getting what you deserve. That's number 1. Number 2, let's get to Colin Kaepernick. He has regressed. There is no question about it. And it really, really doesn't make sense when you consider the fact that his quarterback coach is now the offensive coordinator. So it's not like there's been an absence of continuity that's been there. He just doesn't seem to be developing. And just sitting in a chair and playing the role of couch psychologist here, whatever you want to call it. I look at a Colin Kaepernick that does not seem interested in playing the game of football with the people he plays for, the organization he plays for, and the teammates he plays with. Now, that's got to be primarily his fault. Because you got to be professional. And he goes out there, gets beat up. There's no question about it. You know, he's getting sacked, he's getting hit a lot. He doesn't have the requisite weapons to throw the football to the way that he once did. Because Torrey Smith and Anquan Bolden, maybe they're cutting it, maybe they're not. I don't know. But they don't seem to vibe with him. And he certainly wasn't vibing with Vernon Davis, according to the reports, which is one of the reasons why Vernon Davis is probably even more happy to be going to Denver, even though he's not going to admit he's going to say, I love Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning. But here's the deal. If you're Colin Kaepernick, I know he can still run with that football. I know he can still make plays with that football. I know that in the right situation, he can help a team win on a football field. Don't tell me he's on a level of Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert ain't better than Colin Kaepernick. It's just that the situation is so dire that they had to make a change. I look at Colin Kaepernick's body language. He appears incredibly indifferent and apathetic. He doesn't appear to want to be there playing for that organization in that system any longer. He's not the same Colin Kaepernick that was tugging away at the heels of Alex Smith, excited about playing the game of football. He seems to be an entirely different person, and I'm not going to blame it on a loss of ability. I'm going to blame it on a loss of interest. He needs to be moved. He doesn't just deserve to be benched. He needs to be traded. Philadelphia is what I think would be an ideal spot for him, me personally speaking, but he needs to be traded. He needs a new environment. He does not want to be there any longer, and it's written all over his face.
Yep, I agree with that. So let's trace what just happened. You recall we went back and forth that year, back in 2012, Harbaugh going back and forth between Alex Smith and Kaepernick, and I said I would just close my eyes and plunge and go with Kaepernick.
Yep.
Supremely gifted young man. Loved the way he threw, big velocity, big arm. And obviously, I loved the way he could run with the football. And you remember that first playoff run, what he did to the Green Bay Packers at Candlestick Park? 181 yards rushing on 16 carries. Whew, what a show he put on. And they got all the way, as you remember, to the Super Bowl. And I thought there was pass interference on Crabtree in the end zone, but it's close. It's real close to winning that Super Bowl. And then the next year, he was sensational. 24 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. QBR fell just a little bit from 75 to 68, but they were really good. They won 14 games and lost 5. And as you say, one throw, he just didn't quite get enough air under that throw that made Richard Sherman. Then Richard Sherman went off after that game.
Yep.
Remember, that's the NFC Championship game. Then last year he regressed some more, and he started to go into his shell, and he started to look mad at the world. Every time I saw an interview, he seemed to have big chip on shoulder pads, and he just, I don't know what was going on. And then there were reports lately about that he's withdrawn from his teammates, and Adam Schefter reported that here in the last, I guess this last week, he actually started not wearing his headphones in the lunchroom. Like, I'm going to take my headphones off, so I'm going to actually try to communicate with some of my teammates. That's on him. That's all his fault. But here's my bottom line to this, and I do agree with your Philadelphia idea. He deserves a fresh start somewhere where he's appreciated. But here's my problem. We just opened the show talking about Cam Newton. What has Cam done that a lot of the other quarterbacks no longer do? He's embraced who he is, right? He runs with the football on occasion when it's called for. Now, you don't love the power runs, but
not the power runs, but I love him running.
I do too. I love him running, and it doesn't seem to bother him, and it seems to ignite his football team, and it makes it a little easier on him because it makes it so much harder on the defense to prep for that.
Let me say this to you. Colin Kaepernick does not deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as Cam Newton, but not because of talent. Look at Cam Newton's attitude. Look at how he infuses the guys around him. And this is a guy that used to wear the towel over his head and sulk and all of that other stuff.
He had his
he does not do that.
No, he doesn't.
Cam Newton is a leader.
He is.
Cam Newton inspires guys around him. Guys love being his teammate. I don't see any of that.
I don't know if they used to do. If we go back 3-4 years ago.
But I don't know. But but Colin Kaepernick, this ain't his first or second year.
No.
This dude has been around for 4 years. Colin Kaepernick doesn't seem. You don't hear anyone speaking up for him. No one. No one. I'm talking about as a person. Now, I don't know how fair that is. Because, I mean, I don't know him. Seems to be pretty nice to me. But if you're a guy that's to yourself, the reason why that's the antithesis of what a quarterback is supposed to be, is because the quarterback needs everybody else to do their job. No matter how great the quarterback is, Tom Brady will look like Blaine Gabbert if everybody's dropping passes, running the wrong routes, not studying film, not understanding things, not understanding the system. You need other guys. And as a quarterback, you have to inspire guys to want to be there. The fact that Vernon Davis could get traded and literally get out of bed and talk about, man, all I could think about was Peyton Manning. The fact that the Gronkowskis and Edelmans and Amendolas of the world, everybody's talking, even Bill Belichick is Tom Brady, Tom Brady, Tom Brady. The fact that you got teammates talking about how great Aaron Rodgers is as a talent and everything he brings to the table. Tony Romo, the way his teammates rave about him. You cannot be a quarterback that in any way alienates people. You just can't do it.
Okay.
On the NFL level, it's taboo. And that appears to be what Colin Kaepernick has done. I don't know. I'm just saying it appears to be that way because of what everybody says when they're talking about him. And that's the problem.
Okay. Back to my Cam Newton point. He continues to run with the football very effectively, and I don't know why, but last year, even under Jim Harbaugh, in San Francisco, Kaepernick quit running the read option. He is lethal on the read option, and he's safe with it. He is so gifted athletically. He'll slide. He gashes defense because he has such long strider acceleration.
To piggyback off your point, didn't we hear something along the lines of what Balky and York wanted him to be doing? And how to some degree that was interfering with Harbaugh? Because what I'm saying is that Colin Kaepernick was playing one way for a period of 2 to 3 successful years, and it was flowing. And then all of a sudden last year we saw a change. And we didn't understand where it was coming from. And if you watch Harbaugh coach at Michigan, that's the guy that's coaching at San Francisco. So why would he sit up there and coach at San Francisco for 3 successful years, all right, coach at Michigan once he's gone from San Francisco the same way, but for a particular year in San Francisco, which happened to be his last, there's a deviation. Something's wrong with that picture. That doesn't make sense. Now, I don't know if it's York, Balky, or if they had nothing to do with it, but it doesn't seem to make any sense that you coach this way no matter where you are, at Stanford, at San Fran, with the 49ers, now at Michigan. But 1 year, things change, which was your last year in San Francisco, okay? And that's just Jim Harbaugh. No, there's got to be somebody else. And who else would have the power to influence change?
Okay. It could be Colin Kaepernick, too. Remember what Robert Griffin went through? He said, I am a pocket passer. I do not run anymore.
But Robert Griffin went through that because Haloti Ngata almost took his leg off his body.
That has not happened to Kaepernick.
That has not happened to Kaepernick. So why would he do that?
I don't know.
And I've never heard him say that. We've heard Robert Griffin III say that. We haven't heard that from Colin Kaepernick.
Well,
so where's it coming from?
I don't know. But it was under Harbaugh that it started. And listen, he's a good pocket passer, but he can be a great player with the whole package.
But it means nothing, Skip, if you don't have guys that want to play with you.
Yep.
And that's what I don't know. We don't know, but we gotta literally ask those kind of questions with what we're seeing transpire, because there's no reason on earth why Blaine Gabbert should be playing before Colin Kaepernick. I mean, that's just a joke.
The fact that that's happening. QBR to your
come on. I said before that draft, Blaine Gabbert can't play in this league.
The fact that happened.
Something's going on.
Something's going on.
100%.
Something's going on.
Not to mention, I have it listed here, but the 12 notable players they lost since the end of last season. They lost a ton of their pieces as well, in addition to
retirement, injuries, etc.
Tiger Woods' former caddy Stevie Williams has written an autobiography called Out of the Rough, where he talks about his career as a caddy for Woods. Woods won 13 majors with Williams on his bag before they split back in 2011. In the book, he criticizes Tiger's infidelity in his on-course behavior. Quote, one thing that really pissed me off was how he would flippantly toss a club in the general direction of the bag, expecting me to go over and pick it up. I felt uneasy about bending down to pick up his discarded club. It was like I was his slave. The other thing that disgusted me was his habit of spitting at the hole if he missed a putt. Stephen A., what's the reaction?
Initially, I wanted to go off about this guy, Steve Williams, because after all, he's a caddy. Let's be clear about that. But then the more I listened, the more I just laughed at how ridiculous this guy is coming across. Skip Bayless, I am no golf aficionado. You are certainly one more than me. I lean on you. I lean on, our reporters that cover the sport of golf who frequently, come on as guests on this show.
Michael Collins.
Michael Collins especially, who I love.
Yep.
And, I listen, I play golf occasionally, just a couple of times a year at the most. This dude right here, when the weather's warm, maybe about 3 to 5 times a week. Okay? But Skip Bayless, so I am no aficionado on the nuances that entails the job description of a caddy. Yep. But I'm going to repeat, you're a caddy, okay? So part of your, the advice that you give them, what clubs to use and what have you, or possibly carrying the clubs or whatever, to sit there and have a problem with Tiger Woods flippantly tossing the club. He might have been frustrated at a shot. It certainly wasn't directed at you, but you personalized it. By the way, this same caddy is projected to have made anywhere from 10 to 20 million.
Wow.
Not from Tiger.
Not from Tiger.
No, but just from Tiger, it's like 6 to 8 million or something. Just from Tiger.
I apologize.
Good work.
$6 to $8 million for a caddy.
That's over 12 years.
6 to 8 million for a caddy. I mean, you got to be kidding me. All right. And then this guy sits up there and he talks about being treated like a slave. We won't go there. I'm not in the mood. I'm just not in the mood. We all know what? It's ridiculous.
It's beneath your dignity.
That's right. It would be. I'm not going to do it. That's just utterly ridiculous. Yeah. Just unbelievable that he would say such a thing. But then the part that makes me laugh, and I need help here. Okay. And I'm going to ask Skip, I'm going to confess to you, I need your help. Molly, you feel free to join it because I don't know what to say. I'm reading this dude actually. I really had a problem with his behavior and I needed to talk to. Wait a minute. Was he messing with you? Was he messing with your daughter, your relative? What business is it of yours? I was like, you're a caddy. And you're talking about like you're supposed to be some moral compass for this dude. Who the hell do you think you are? I mean, it's unbelievable to me. So Tiger's sitting there gallivanting around doing whatever it was that he was doing. I can understand you may not liking it. I can understand that it might not be your cup of tea. I can understand that you might not have the level of respect for him for doing it. But how does that affect you as a caddy? He talking about he was upset. I got to explain stuff to my wife and my family. Why? Unless you were being accused of doing something too, what would you feel the need to explain? This notion that Tiger Woods and his dalliances and how he was acting somehow had some kind of profound impact on other people's lives who had nothing to do with him, who weren't around when he was with whoever he was with. How is that any of your business? How does that affect you? And then to sit up there and to act like, oh my God, my life was so impacted by this stuff. And then to wait years later and write a book. Listen, this guy is just ridiculous to me. I understand Tiger won 13 majors with them. I understand the guy has accomplished a lot as a caddy. But you're a caddy for a reason. Fall the hell back. This is some of the most nonsensical stuff that I've ever read. It was unbelievable to me. It really, really was.
Okay, just in fairness, you realize that a lot of the great players have very close relationships with their caddies, and their caddies are crucial to them in their on-course, almost their psychological management, that the caddy can say or do just the right thing at the right time. It's not that he's giving you exactly the right club. He's convincing you this is the right club, and you are going to hit this close. So I get that you would value. In Tiger's case, I thought Stevie Williams aided him most as a bodyguard because he was so famous. And Stevie Williams was a bad you-know-what. He would jump in the photographers' faces. He was a big, stout New Zealander, and he'd get in anybody's face, media's face, anybody. It's like that was about half of his job was to protect Tiger Woods on the golf course, okay? And I thought he did a pretty good job of that because, as you see here, he's got a streak aside to him that's not very likable, and it worked for Tiger Woods. Now, on the slave comment, obviously when you're being paid $6 to $8 million by the man you're working for. I don't know if that qualifies quite as slavery. It's just such an insult. But remember, okay, look, this guy, he grew up in New Zealand. He went back and he now lives in New Zealand. So his sensitivity level to what happened in this country involving slavery is probably pretty non-existent. I'm not giving him a pass. I just think he has no idea what he's talking about.
That's fair.
Okay?
That's fair.
Now, he did have that one line about Tiger that really set me off, and I can't remember if we talked about it on the show, but after he was fired by Tiger, wound up with Adam Scott, another very good player, and Adam Scott broke through and won at Bridgestone, a pretty big tournament at Bridgestone. Stevie Williams was stopped by the media after they had just won the tournament, and Stevie said that it was my aim to shove it right up that black, and I'll just say the word backside, okay? So he wanted to shove it up Tiger's black you-know-what, okay? And a lot of people found that to be very racist. I certainly did. Tiger defended him shortly after that and said he certainly does not believe that Stevie Williams is racist. But that came off as racist to me. So is there some seeds here for us to say that there's some racism operating here? Sure there is. Is it insensitive? I don't know. But to your point, I completely agree with your bottom line, which is Stevie Williams goes on and on about how he was shamed by Tiger's infidelity, that he took it personally because people looked down on him over why didn't you intervene and stop Tiger from having all those affairs. He had no idea. He said, I don't know. And people, he turned my life upside down because people blamed me for what happened. That's absurd. It's absurd. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, Stevie.
Listen. And I don't know. Listen, I was in Australia for the Olympics. I've been interviewed on radio shows in New Zealand. They watch me.
You have?
Many times.
Wow.
Many times.
You're a worldwide.
They've called me on certain. They've called me several times about this show as well. So trust me. I'm dead serious. And let me tell you something right now. I under no circumstances. I have no knowledge about the folks whatsoever. But I'm just going to be a man here and tell you this. And I'll tell you this, Miss Molly. Let's be clear. When a dude ends up acting like Tiger, another dude don't feel responsible for that.
No.
That's your business.
That's his business.
Now, I mean, you might sit there and say to him, if he's a friend or a family member or whatever, look, man, come here.
Yeah.
Or if you're his parent, you might be like, I didn't raise you that way, or something like that. If you're a pastor, you might talk to somebody because you're a member of that pastor's congregation. You gotta follow God's laws, etc. You're a caddy, and you might have a decent relationship, but there's no personal impact on you.
No.
That is about the weakest explanation I've ever heard in my life. So Tiger Woods sitting up there gallivanting around, strippers, prostitutes, porn stars, whatever. I'm affected by it.
Can I say one thing? I don't get involved in anybody's personal business, but his wife might have got on him. If he sees all these young, cute girls around, like, what's going on? So he might have had to answer to her. But that's my
point. What I'm saying is...
But that's his relationship.
That's what I said. What I said earlier was... Unless the wife was asking you about you.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm just saying, don't tell me. Now that's different. Because I understand, even if it ain't a wife, even if it's a girlfriend, if she's asking, he got a lot of women around. You trying to tell me you ain't having, you not doing any of this stuff?
Okay,
a woman might ask you that question.
He didn't associate with Tiger after hours at all. They loved each other at the golf course.
What I'm trying to say is, I am told that there's a lot of women that show up on the golf course. So I'm just saying, but my point is, if you're getting asked those questions because of the environment, that's about the only legitimate argument you have. But to sit up there and act like Tiger acting up has somehow impacted you, I mean, you're just pathetic.
Okay.
You're pathetic.
That is a fall back.
So
please.
He is now writing a book because of one reason and one reason
Tiger.
only. He worked for Tiger Woods.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right.
Money.
That's right.
Money.
And frankly, I wouldn't mind it if nobody buys this. That's just me.
I know I ain't.
You're not endorsing it.
No, I'm not.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt, frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
The Lakers season is off to a rocky start, winless in the first 3 games. Could Kobe Bryant be the reason? He's shooting 16 of 51 from the field and 6 of 29 from three-point range. Lakers coach Byron Scott said Kobe was given the day off from Lakers practice Monday because he was really angry with himself. Here's Kobe on his performance this year.
What's the fastest way to turn this thing around, sir?
Well, if I make a damn shot, that'll help. I suck right now, dude.
You don't have any issues, health issues right now?
Yeah, it's the 200th best player in the league right now. Freaking suck.
Pretty hard on himself, so 200, not 93rd. Stephen A., do you agree with Kobe's breakdown of his performance thus far?
I don't agree with the breakdown of the 200, but I do agree that he's been absolutely awful, but I'm not concerned about it. And the reason I'm not concerned about it is because he's just missing shots. If he couldn't move, if he couldn't get off the floor, if he couldn't get his shot off, if his shot was getting blocked, if he couldn't escape a defender or whatever, that would be different. What Kobe is doing right now is missing shots. He's shooting 31% from the field. He's shooting 20% from three-point range, like 6 of 29. Those are just awful numbers.
Wait, say that again. 6 of 29?
26 of 29 from three-point range. He looks absolutely awful, and that's why I think that he has the right to get on me or anybody else if we were critical of him, as if we're saying something different than what he says. Now, if he was sitting up there saying that he was great, we don't know what the hell we're talking about, then that would be different. But he's quick to beat people to the punch, because I've always admired the fact that he's ultra critical of himself. Yeah. Even when he's taking shots that he shouldn't be taking, he'll defend them sometimes. He's like, please, you're damn right, I'm going to keep doing it because this is how I play, and this is the way it's going to be. But he knows that right now he's looking very bad, because he's not making shots. I watched him against Minnesota. I watched him a little bit in a loss against Dallas the other day. I didn't see a guy, Skip, that couldn't get his shot. I saw a guy that was missing shots. And sometimes you got to remember, I was covering the 76ers, and I remember the year when Allen Iverson was just going off, and he went through like a 10 to 12 game streak where he was shooting like 23%. It was bad. It was bad. It happens. Now, in Kobe's case, he's 37. So you're going to look at him and say, wait a minute now, this could be it. But I'm going to be hesitant to say that now, because I've seen him miss open shots. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes your shot is just not falling. I think what happens is that, unlike times in the past, because he's missing shots that he would normally make, whereas he would fight through it before, since the Lakers are winless, coming off the season they had last year, I think it's one of those situations where he's looking at himself and he's like, I'm being a detriment to this team, and that's a foreign feeling for him. So he's taking it extra hard because he knows the world is watching him to see if he's rehabilitated or what have you. But I really think he's just missing shots right now.
Okay, so you're saying this is a slump and not the end.
That's right. I think it's a slump and not the end as of yet, because health-wise, I see a guy getting open. He's just missing shots.
I can't tell you how much I hope you're right. I'm starting to get that queasy, sad feeling for Kobe, and I just hope he can just play his way out of this, shoot his way out of it. But, you know, I thought Tim Legler said something very interesting last night on the Late Sports Center. Kobe never was a great long-distance shooter to start with. And now that he's pretty much reduced to being only a long-distance shooter, if he has any slump at all, he really looks bad, because he's not Steph Curry to start with. Do you see what I mean? So he's a 33% career, 33.4 career three-point shooter. And all of a sudden, as you say, he's, 20.7% now? 6 of 29. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing defenders no longer fear his blow-by ability. He can still go a little between the legs and put a little, crossover move and get a little. He can get his shot, but nobody fears the blow-by quickness or explosion that obviously he used to have as much as anybody ever had it. So defenders are closing out on him on the three-point line with impunity and without fear. And it's harder on him because he's going to get covered on a lot. I understand sometimes he just misses open ones, but man, his degree of difficulty is much higher because there's no threat of, you run at me, pal, I'm going up and under. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I get where your point is valid. but not entirely accurate in my opinion, simply because of this. Kobe's level of intelligence, once he gets to the hole, to get fouled, is something they would also have to fear. And they're cognizant of that. Here's where it really gets highlighted. Skip Bayless, if Kobe Bryant were making some of these shots, and let's say, for example, he's just averaging 15 to 18 a game on 43% shooting, 44% shooting, I think that's something you need to feel more concerned about, because he's making shots, but at the same time, it's too difficult for him. I don't think you have to worry about him when he's just missing, because if he's just missing, that's a slump. What happens is, what you have to monitor is if he's shooting 43, 44, 45% from the field, but the average still ain't up there, because then that means guys are getting up in you and you have a difficult time shaking them off of you. That would be more flagrant than him shooting 20% from three and 31% from the field, because when you're shooting, first of all, he shot more than anybody on the Lakers, and he's missing. So that means that you're getting shots.
Okay,
you just can't make them.
I got it. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, you laughed at ESPN.com's ranking of Kobe as the 93rd best or worst player.
I still do.
You still do?
I still do.
Because, right, you know, I'm more than him. He's starting to look like 200th at the moment.
Well, listen, anybody that's missing shots is going to look bad, because you have to make shots. But I'm looking at who's causing it. If defenders, you can't shake them loose and you can't get shots off, that's a different ball game. But when you Kobe and you're just missing those shots, I don't see it that way. But I will tell you this. I'm more alarmed by the fact that he was given a day off. The Kobe Bryant that I know doesn't need a day off to get his mind right for basketball.
Was his body not right? As he tries to bounce back?
What I'm saying is the fact that he got the day off because of his mind tells me that something's eating away at him, and we might be seeing the beginning of the end.
The Warriors handed the Grizzlies their worst loss in franchise history last night, 119-69. Steph Curry scored 21 of his 30 points in the third quarter. It was the third time this season Curry had at least 20 points in a quarter, while the rest of the NBA has won. Stephen A., how surprised are you by Steph and the Warriors?
Well, let me say this. First things first, the Memphis Grizzlies, I don't know what the hell is going on with them. To lose by 30 in your home opener to LeBron, and then to lose by 50 last night. This is not the Memphis Grizzlies.
And by the way, LeBron was playing back-to-back on the road.
That's right. I mean, what the hell is going on in Memphis? That's number one. Number two, what the hell is going on with Steph Curry? I don't know what. Listen, I am on the record. He's my favorite player to watch. This dude is the greatest shooter that I have ever seen in NBA history, and his daddy was pretty good, so we know where he got it from. That's why I love their commercial when he sat up there and sitting in his chair and he'd get up. You know what I'm saying? One league MVP. You know, I love that commercial. I really, really do. But let me say this. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Curry is shooting 59.5% from the field. Steph Curry is shooting 48.8% from three-point range. This ball goes up, it's going in. It's going in. And what's amazing about it is that we all know that 90% of the shots are coming from long distance, okay? I mean, this dude right here, he takes 21 shots a game. Almost 11 are from three-point range. And this guy is shooting like this. This dude is on another level. He's averaging 37, 6, and 5. I mean, clearly he's on a mission. Because we talked about how the Warriors might have been a bit fraudulent because of the injuries. They're the champions, give them their respect, but blah, blah, blah. Steph Curry seems to have an attitude, and rather than talk about it, he seems to be taking it out on opponents. Now, 3 of the 4 opponents were New Orleans and Memphis.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so we get that part. But this brother's special. He is special. Right now. Forget MVP and all of that stuff, because we know he deserved the MVP, even though Harden gave him a run for his money. And Harden had 37 last night. Kudos to him. Steph Curry, man, we've been talking about LeBron James being the best player in the world. I mean, are we getting to a point where we might have to start revisiting that conversation just because of the marksmanship? You know, you got to remember, LeBron don't shoot 90% for the free throw line. LeBron don't shoot like that from three-point range. LeBron can't change a game as much of a locomotive as he is, and the multitude of things he does on both ends of the floor, because clearly we consider him the best player in the world, and we consider Kevin Durant number 2. But because of the accuracy with which Steph Curry shoots. I'm actually getting to a point where I'm sitting there saying, maybe I need to look at Steph Curry as in the discussion as the best player in the world, because if you can pull up from half court, how can I dismiss you? I mean, I know that he can't do defensively what a LeBron can do. I know he can't do inside and outside what a Kevin Durant can do. But they can't do what he can do, which is shoot like that. And Kevin Durant can pull up from 30. But I ain't never seen anybody shoot the way this brother shoots the basketball. It's scary. He literally is a threat from the time he steps past half court.
And do not do this young man a disservice, because I watched a lot of this game last night. He was clowning dudes on fast break layouts, clowning them, just having fun with them, doing little ditsy doodles. Watch this one. Try this
nasty
one.
handle. Can create his own shot. Boogies on you.
It's ridiculous. Okay. So I want to admit publicly, I am ashamed of myself, because before his draft, Steph's draft, I plunged and said I would take him #1 overall over Blake Griffin. Then last year, he wins the MVP, and I did not buy it. I did not buy into what he is. As much as I love him, when we had our preseason MVP discussion, his name did not come up. We mentioned 3 or 4 other names, right?
Yeah.
We didn't even mention Steph Curry, the defending MVP, who then, with a big chip on his shoulder, has gone out in 4 games and said, oh, yeah, now do you believe me? Now do you believe in me? You realize he's got 3 20-point quarters. Russell Westbrook led the league last year with 4 for the whole year. This is crazy stuff.
Right.
What he's doing.
Listen, man. It's something to be said. When you play the game of basketball, I cannot emphasize to y'all enough. You can bring a Michael Jordan out there. You can bring a LeBron James out there. There is nothing that strikes fear in the opposition more than a dude that can just throw the ball up unconsciously and it goes in. And Steph Curry, it's not like I remember one of the greatest shooters, you can appreciate this kid, Andrew Toney, for example, when he played for the Philadelphia 76ers in the 80s. He was money. But here's the thing. He was money with the mid-range game and his ability to take you off the dribble and pull up. Steph Curry literally, he walks past half court and you got guys scared that he's going to pull up from 40. That's the kind of, he shoots like that. He pulls up from 40 and it ain't even a bad shot. I mean, you're looking at, he shot double the amount of times that Klay Thompson. These are the Splash Brothers, and he has 84 shots on the year, and Klay Thompson has half that, and nobody cares. This dude. It's unbelievable.
So are we looking at back-to-back MVPs?
Well, if he keeps this up, of course. If he keeps this up, I don't think he'll keep it up, because you're going to shoot 60% for the season, 48% for 3 for the season.
And but the competition's going to get a little stiffer here.
It's going to. I can't wait. I know it's so early in the season. Oh, I'm so mad. The flight is so long. I can't wait to see Golden State versus the Clippers tomorrow night. ESPN game. It's must-see time, because I know the Clippers.
Are you going?
No, I'm not going. I'm not going. I said I wish I could go. I got things to do. I can't fly to San Francisco this week. But I'm telling you, I'm mad I ain't going to be there, because, I would love to see, because I know, and listen, I know the Clippers got a lot of heart. They got some skill. They're going to go at it. But what are you going to do with a dude that pulls up from 40?
I don't like the Clippers' chances.
I don't like their chances tomorrow night either. But they might surprise us. I don't know. But I'm interested in seeing what Steph Curry does.
Against them.
In
his first 4 games, 148 points. Only Michael Jordan has more over the last 40 years. So, Travis Johnson, a former NFL defensive lineman, dressed up as Ray Lewis for Halloween and delivered the following motivational speech to children. Someone liked it before they went trick-or-treating.
I want all y'all babies to close your eyes. I want y'all to think about the baby, the kid, your cousin, your brother sitting right next to you. And I want you to say, if tomorrow was a promise, how would you trick or treat for today? You gotta trick or treat with effort.
Oh man, cut out the best parts. Oh, it was hilarious.
What was
Gotta
it?
see the whole video.
Really?
It was funny, Skip.
Been there, right?
It was funny, Skip. You have no sense of humor, but you can laugh at Eli Manning on Saturday Night Live. You can do that.
I can laugh at Aaron Rodgers, Mr. Rogers. I can do that.
You can do that?
Oh, my God.
Is this
Did
how
you
we're
like
going to end this show?
Yeah.
Well, how would
you know what?
I
gotta say,
No.
I am now embarrassed for our show.
Why?
Because my partner, Stephen A. Smith, my friend,
Yeah.
my brother from another mother, actually wanted to end this show reacting to that silly video.
Should have played more of it.
The Halloween video.
We're a funny, silly show.
Instead of acknowledging the monumental achievement of the great Tim Duncan last night, who has now won more games for one NBA team than anyone who's ever played in this game. You know what? I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed.
I have spent a career. I have spent a career praising my West Indian brother. I mean, he's talking about the one and only Tim Duncan from St. Croix, St. Thomas Virgin.
But we want to talk about that video instead of Tim Duncan.
Listen, we got Tim Duncan. We got plenty of time to talk about Tim Duncan.
Show is ending. Look at this. Look at this. Who wants to watch the most entertaining team?
Congratulations,
I want to know what you guys were for Halloween.
Me proud of Tim Duncan, you know.
Oh, that's a good accent.
You're a good man, my son. I tell you, you're a good man. You're a great player, my son. Me telling you the truth. Me telling you the truth.
Yeah, how about you, Molly? What did you dress up as?
I didn't dress up. I was lame this year.
Oh, well.
You guys?
I'm not a Halloween guy.
You're not?
No.
Oh, I can picture you out
I
there
might have
with
dressed up as something. I ain't gonna tell y'all what it was.
Oh, okay.
I might have. I'm gonna keep it to myself.
Oh.
Keep it to myself.
Really?
I can do that. Now, you know what? I mean, I like the superheroes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a Marvel comic.
Was it a
kind
joint
of dude.
costume or were you on your own?
No. I was on my own.
Okay.
I was on my own. You know, I mean, I think about Thor. I like the Thor character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could have done a little
I can
Spider-Man.
see you.
Batman is too normal. Everybody try to do Batman or Superman. You know, I don't need that. You know, I liked Golick with the Hulk outfit on, and I love my
Chris
man
Carter.
CC with Shaft.
That was
Looking like Shaft. That was hilarious.
So how
too.
about next year we go as each other? Would
You know,
that work?
that might work. Or I could be like Samuel L. Jackson.
You guys will get
in one of
a lot
those
of dates.
in one of those Dave Chappelle skits. It'll make you drunk. You wouldn't know about that, though.
I know Dave Chappelle. What do you think I am? I don't live on Mars.
I'm just checking. I don't know, Skip. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Are we going to dress up next year? Is that what you're telling me? You're promising me on the show?
No.
I personally think Skip dresses up every day, but that's just me. I'm just saying.
I do. I look
Whatever.
good.
Ja Rule's here tomorrow, guys. Thanks so much for being with us. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Catch First Take weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern and catch The Rear at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2.